stories that inspire hope, healing, and empowerment. Every episode brings raw, unfiltered conversations with individuals who have risen from hardship, embracing faith, strength, and purpose. Join us as we break the silence, uplift one another, and emerge stronger together. New episodes air Wednesdays at 6 p.m. English and Saturdays at 6 p.m., with select Saturdays in Creole for our Haitian audience.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Emerge and Empower. And as you know, this is your host, Dr. LinJ, and we're here yet again for another segment of healing and transformation, where people and individuals are healing for real, whether they're individually healing or after they've healed, they've turned their pain into purpose, they have become therapists, mental health coach, social workers, the diverse areas that they feel is a specialized field for them to come back and give back to the community. Bring healing to those who are going through a struggle that they too went into, or probably something totally new, but it's a place where they found, you know what? This is the place where I would like to make an impact. And they have turned their pains into purpose. Now understand, everyone don't have it all put together. Some are in the beginning process of their journey, some are midway, and some are way far along. But what there is, at the end of the day, everyone is at a stage of healing in their lives, right? And the first step was to talk about it, to share it, to find someone to be open with. So this is a platform that gives you a place also for your continued voice, where you do not feel alone. Where, yes, this is a platform where we can talk. You are not judged. We do not look at you differently. We don't say, oh, what did she do to cause this to happen to her? Because what I realized, no one, male or female, did anything to cause the predator to attack them, to steal their joy, their peace, to put them in a place of depression. No, no one did that. So on today, we have a specialist in her field, but as she come in and share her own individual journey, she is straight across the world, but she saw this post and says, I need to come on and be on this platform and share my story. So as she comes on and we get her ready to come on, we're going to go to a short break because I need a break. Okay, I've been recording all day. I need a break. So you need a break because you're probably just getting off work. You just need a moment. So I'll give you a couple of minutes to get yourself ready and go subscribe to Emerge and Empower as you see it on the screen with Dr. LinJ on YouTube. YouTube. And if you're listening to me on the podcast audio platform, find me at Emerge and Empower with Dr. LinJ on YouTube. We'll be back after this paid commercial.
Remember when coffee was just coffee? A routine sip, part of the 2 billion cups consumed daily, enough to fill an Olympic swimming pool every 3 minutes. Same old flavor, same old routine. For centuries, 75% of coffee drinkers have settled for mediocrity, masking the taste with sugar, syrups, and overpriced add-ons. But what if coffee didn't just promise to be amazing? What if it actually was? Introducing Alive Coffee, the first coffee that tastes as good as it makes you feel. Meet the coffee that thinks beyond the cup. Bold, smooth, alive. Made from expertly roasted top-quality beans, Alive Coffee is smooth, rich, and shockingly delicious. Stop drinking May, start drinking Alive. The coffee that delivers just like the 90% who won't start their day without it. Alive Coffee. Wake up, take over. Feel alive.
Feel alive. And welcome, Denise, to Emerge and Empower. How are you doing today? Welcome. We are so glad you
Hello.
are here.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Lynn. Yay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You are here, and I find it such a joy when I see people call in and they connect because healing is global, right? It is not in your just little small spot. Everyone, healing is global. And what I realize about past traumas and pain, it is common, right? It's diverse. It goes across cultures, it goes across barriers, it goes across every economical status. It doesn't matter where you are. We are all have faced trauma, pain of some kind in our lives. But for most, they've gone through a life altering experience. And thanks be to God and them deciding, I got to get away from this, they got their power back. So on
Yes.
today, Denise, you are here, and I see that you've had 25 years of experience as a transformative coach and hypnotherapist, a trainer with Tony Robbins, y'all, guiding soul leaders and healers master self-love. Now, on this platform, we are great. That's all we say. Love yourself, love yourself, love yourself. And your healing is for you. When you forgive, it's also for you. Everything that you do is to make you a better person, not only for yourself, but your family. Because when you're going through pains and experiences, guess what? You might feel like you're going through it alone, but everyone around you are feeling the ramifications of whatever that is that you probably don't think that you're talking about, but they feel it. They can sense it and they're affected by it based on also your reaction. So today, go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience and let them know where you're connecting from and just give a shout out.
Yay. Thanks, Dr. Lynn. Well, hi, everybody. I'm Denise Michelle, and I'm originally from the States, from Los Angeles, but I now live in Bali. So I'm across the world.
Molly!
So literally living my best life on a tropical island. It exists. And I'm thrilled to be here, and I'm thrilled to give you guys a little bit of insight about the healing journey.
Right.
And yeah, yeah.
I like
So
Bali. I think there was a movie, I don't recall, that they did a wedding in Bali or something like that. It was something, I
yeah,
don't remember what it was called. And I was like, oh my God, it's
it
so
was with
pretty.
Julia Roberts. It was,
Yeah.
yeah, I saw it and I was kind of like, I mean, sort of, but it actually wasn't fully filmed in Indonesia. It was filmed in
Oh,
Australia. Because I
wow.
was like, that doesn't totally look like Bali. So anyhow, but yes, Bali is a beautiful place, beautiful people, very peaceful.
I love that. I love
Lots
that
of,
for
yeah.
you on your healing journey to find your peace. And I'm glad you said it because a lot of people realize they think they have to stay where they are. When you need to protect your peace, you really need to move away from your environment. If your environment is toxic and the people around you are toxic, listen, you need to move away from that for your own betterment, right? Not your detriment, but for your betterment. Staying is your detriment, you know? So we're gonna just dive right into your story, and you're just gonna take us through who is Denise, what you've experienced, and then we'll come later on into your why. Why are you doing what you're doing today? So go ahead, Denise, and just take us through.
Okay. So really just started in the womb as I was born with something called borderline personality disorder. And if
Okay.
anybody knows what that is, it's a really intense mental illness that you have basically no identity, no emotional regulation. You have very dysfunctional relationships.
Okay.
You don't know how to see things in the gray area. Everything's kind of black or white.
Okay.
Um, a lot of your visions of life are distorted.
Okay.
I was what you would call a functioning borderline, where I got really high grades.
Mm-hmm.
I looked very normal on the outside, but on the inside, I was really, really
Mm-hmm.
just confused. Would later in my years, I would start going through psychotic episodes. In my earlier years, they were considered tantrums.
Mm-hmm.
But it was all because I was screaming for love. And I grew up in a very chaotic,
Mm-hmm.
dysfunctional home. And so I was very verbal on trying to get love from my parents and attention and affection and all the things. And because they didn't have the emotional intelligence, basically me and my sister were kind of on our own from a very young age to learn how to take care of ourselves. And through that, I always just wanted love. I remember a teacher asking me when I was a little girl, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I remember it wasn't what everybody was saying, a teacher, an astronaut, a doctor.
Right.
I was like, I just want love. And who knew that this would literally be the thing that I would spend my entire 46 years on this planet studying. And when I went through my earlier years, my teenage years, and I started to get boyfriends and things like that, and then the first time I got my heart shattered, that was the first time I started recognizing later on that I was putting up these barriers. And it emotionally, I really struggled, because starting at 13 years old was when I started having suicidal thoughts. 14 is when I actually attempted to take my own life. And, it was all a cry for help. It wasn't, something that I was like, oh, like I actually do want to die. It wasn't until later in life that I did, that I actually had that full feeling. As I got older, the psychotic episodes got much worse. And it was in my early 20s when I recognized that my behaviors were actually affecting the people that I love. And that's, for the first time, I felt remorse. And I decided to start getting help. And then I was getting treatment for, what was it? It was depression. It was childhood sexual abuse. And it was also anxiety. But the problem with that was that wasn't the root. Right. And so it wasn't until I was 26 years old when I was with another boyfriend at this stage. My psychotic episodes were at its height. And my boyfriend's brother told me that I was emotionally unstable. And I was like, yeah, like I am. And I looked it up on the internet with what limited information there was in 2005. And it was there in black and white. It was like all this stuff on borderline. And I was like, oh my God. And so of course, like as somebody who once I find something out, like I'm just in the rabbit hole and I'm researching and I'm like, I want to understand myself. And so I printed out all these things. I'm highlighting, I've got the red marks. And then I had to find a doctor in Los Angeles who actually specialized in BPD. And at that time, there wasn't a lot on the internet. And I did end up finding a doctor from UCLA, or he was like the head of psychology at UCLA. And he agreed to see me. And he basically said, well, he was skeptical. He's like, well, what makes you think you have borderline? And I come in with this like packet of papers and with all my highlights. And I'm like, I do all of this. And he sees me. So he doesn't, because I was a functioning borderline, he was just kind of like, yeah, we'll see, you know, but weeks later, I ended up going through, I would say one of my rock bottoms, that I probably should have been committed. And it was a really scary situation for my family, for myself. And that's when he was like, okay, all right, we have some work to do. And I was in therapy for 3 days a week. And this is how this is my mid-20s at this point. And then I was slowly, what I felt getting better. I was starting to read personal development books. I was really working hard to understand myself. I was in a very toxic relationship where he basically said, I'll love all of you when you're better. Wow. And so I did everything that I could to prove myself to him, because this is, I think, when I really started thinking that I had to earn my love. And
you felt undeserving of love.
I did. Oh yeah. I fully felt undeserving of love. And because I had hurt so many people at that stage of my life, I was basically like, well, there was a part of myself that I was actually punishing myself for all of that. And I was allowing somebody to dictate my power and
Mm-hmm.
say, you're not lovable until, right? So I ended up at 28 years old. I was working a corporate job, and I came home from work one day and I recognized that this was the day I was going to die. And it was very odd because I wasn't crying and screaming like I had been doing before. I wasn't writing
Mm-hmm.
suicide notes. I just felt at peace. And I was like, oh my God. Like I could feel it. I was like, I've never felt at peace with death before. And I
Mm-hmm.
gave myself 24 hours. I started planning my death. And that was the first time I heard the whispers. And I heard this voice and it said, it doesn't have to be like this. And I
Mm-hmm.
was just basically like, there's no other way. I don't know where to go from here.
Right.
And then I heard a very loud voice. It's time for you to get real help. And I'm just like, I don't know where to do that or how to do this. And then I heard one more thing that was just like a light bulb.
Mm-hmm.
You have short-term disability. Use
Wow.
it. I know, right? And I was like, oh, right, I have benefits.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
within 2 days, I left my job of almost 10 years to go save my life. And I went into an outpatient program at a hospital, a famous hospital called Cedars-Sinai.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in that dialectical behavior therapy program for 9 months, saving my life.
Wow.
And that's where I created my identity. Yeah. It was
And how
intense.
old
And I
how
never
old were
went.
you at that time?
I was 28, 28, 29 at that point.
Okay.
And that was really tough because at that point I ended my relationship with my boyfriend because I
Mm-hmm.
recognized if I stayed with him, I was really going to die because he was like,
Right.
oh yeah, go take care of yourself. I want you to get help. I want you to heal. And then he would turn it around and say, well, what about me? And I couldn't do both.
Right.
I couldn't take care of
So
him
you
and
had to
take care
choose
of
you.
myself.
You had
I
to
had to
choose
choose
you.
me.
And I'm glad you said that because there's a lot of people watching here today who have not chosen themselves, right?
Yes.
You have to choose you because this is for your health. This is for
Yes.
you, right? And there are those who will make you feel undeserving of love, or they are the best thing that has ever happened to you. So therefore, you feel like you need to cling on to them. Whatever they say, now you've given them that power, right? And
Yeah.
whatever they say hurts you because you give that to them, right?
Yeah.
So you said a lot in this short period of time to the point where you talk about growing up in a dysfunctional home. You talk about, even though you touch it slightly, of sexual abuse as a child, right?
Yeah.
Now, how old were you as a child?
I was 6. And it
6.
was a family friend. It was actually he was a doctor. He was my
Mm-hmm.
uncle who was a doctor, his business partner. And I blocked the memory out. I didn't even start to remember until I was 13. And then I didn't even remember the details until I was in my early 40s,
Mm-hmm.
when I finally did a hypnotherapy session on it. And because I was terrified to see what happened.
Right.
And
Because the reason why I
and
said that is for you to realize that everything that happened from that point on is your body was reacting to it in different ways. See, these traumas, right? Even though you want to disassociate them, but they are there like the elephant in the room, even though we put it behind, right? It's like a shadow that's bigger than you depending on where the light is hitting, right? So everything that you are doing is coming from this place. Every
yeah,
person that you have met is
yeah,
still coming from this place. The unwanted, the undeserving, all of this, why this happened to me, 6 years old. 6 years old. You understand me? I too can relate to a 6 year old life altering situation. And I never told anybody about it until I wrote my book. You understand? They knew what they needed to know, which was told, but I didn't get deep. I was too afraid to tell it. And what I did tell, Even though it happened, nothing was done. So here's where you were in this mindset, 6 years old. So even though you were going through all of these experiences, you were still trapped.
Yeah.
That little
Yeah.
girl, still
Yeah.
trapped. So you realize something wrong. You're saying things are wrong because you know there's things in you that needs to be healed, and it's crying out for this
Yeah.
healing. You understand
Yeah.
me? And so those, because we say it, and I had someone on many episodes to talk about this, there are predators in various forms. They come as boyfriends, fathers, whoever, workers, leaders, right? And they prey on those weak points to allow people to bend and move the way they are. So as a result, women go cycle after cycle. It's like you're meeting the same guy.
Yes. Yes. Until
You're
you
done
break the cycle.
here until you break that cycle.
Until
All
you
right.
break the cycle.
So here
Yeah.
you are at 28 years old, and you're realizing, you know what, it's over. It's time. You
Yeah.
know, and when
Yeah.
you finally make peace with it, now you can truly hear your inner self telling you that's not the way out. Get help.
Get help.
You see?
Get help. Yeah. And this was so powerful because I think up until that point, I just really felt alone. And I think anybody in their healing process, you have these moments where you feel really alone, really misunderstood,
Hmm.
really unseen. And when I went into dialectical behavior therapy, basically what that is, it was created by a woman named Marsha Linehan, I believe is her name, and she it's in mindfulness approach to cognitive behavior therapy.
Hmm.
So I've been a yogi since I was 20 years old. And so it really resonated with me to go into those mindfulness exercises that we did, because it taught me, my mind was always going. Like, I was a very anxious child. I was a very anxious adult. I never got quality sleep because my mind was always going.
Right.
But the mindfulness, it taught me how to slow down. And, this is one thing that I can really share in the healing process, is that people think that if you're feeling the emotional pain, you have to, oftentimes, because we want to go into those protective modes, we
Right.
want to push it away, and we want to do something to
Hmm.
offset it so we can numb it. We can, find a way out of it. And this was how I used, promiscuity and different
Yes.
kinds of addictions, and
Yes.
because I was trying to mask it all.
Hmm.
But the true healing comes in the being, in the
Yes.
slowing down, in the mindfulness, because you have to let the emotion move through you.
Oh,
Otherwise
yes.
it gets stored
Yeah.
in your body, right? Which is what you were talking about with sexual
Yes.
abuse. And that's what happened. Like, the sexual abuse
Hmm.
went all the way for decades. I like, sexually, I had issues
Hmm.
because it just kept getting triggered, because I never cleared it
Yeah. So
from
it's
my
trigger
from
after
my
trigger after trigger.
right. Exactly. So yeah, so going through dialectical behavior therapy, that was when I basically, it taught me I could have this clean slate, because I didn't have an identity. My identities were from characters from movies or people that I saw, and I was like, oh, they're cool. I can act
Hmm.
like them. And then that's my identity. So now I'm creating my identity, and I'm looking at this, and I'm like, all right, I have this blank canvas. Who do I want to be? And
Right.
I remember saying, I want to be a kind and compassionate person.
Yes.
And I was like, well, what is a kind and compassionate person? What are they like? What is an empathetic person really like?
Right.
And I started practicing being that person, because, what you learn in DBT, you now have to take it out into the world
Right.
and integrate it, right?
Indeed. Indeed. Yes.
So it was a full-time job in itself. So some people were like,
Yes.
God, you don't have a job. And I'm like, I have a job. Trust me, this
Hmm.
is not.
Yes.
What I'm
Yes.
doing is probably something that most people on this planet will not do.
Right.
And going through that, I recognized this idea had kind of come back to me, that I really wanted to become a yoga teacher. because yoga was such a gift for me. It saved my life. It taught me how to connect on a real soul level. And I was like, if I, maybe I can help people too like that. And I remember sharing that with my facilitator, and she said, Denise, you would make an excellent yoga teacher. But then the paradigm, the limiting beliefs of, oh, but you know what, you have a mental illness. Who's going to want to learn from you? Right? Like you don't have the tools, you don't have the skills.
Yeah.
And then I went to an event. It's called Kirtan. It's yogic chanting.
Okay.
And it's devotional yoga. It's yoga of the heart. So when you're there and you're chanting and you're kind of like we're kind of like the yogi hippies that sing and dance. And so, I'm at this event and I'm singing and dancing. This was the first time I just closed my eyes and said, I don't care who's watching me. I'm just going to dance and I'm just going to sing. And something shifted in me that I came out of that event and I signed up to become a yoga teacher. I signed up for that training the next day. And then I went on my journey. And this was the first time that I was doing something for myself. I wasn't going to school to get the grades to show my parents that I was, lovable. I was doing this for me. And so I pretty much cried the entire training because it was like, this is the first time I'm actually doing something.
You're shedding all of that weight off through those tears. You are shedding all of that weight off, all these proving to people, all these masking, all this pretending, and now truly coming into who you are, because you lost that innocence as a child. Right? That was taken away from you. So now, finally, at this moment, because if people find it, whether you're in church, wherever you are, where you're in tune with you, because we are spirit beings, right? Our body is just the envelope, right? We have to be in tune with who we are. And once you allow that light inside of you, then you can actually release all of that darkness, all of that pressure, and let it go. And as you let that go through tears, right? These are tears of healing. See, some people tear because of fear. Some people tear because of shame, right? There's so many reasons for tears. But in that case, for you, those of tears of release.
Yeah.
You see that? You were shedding all that weight that you carried from 6 years old.
Yeah. And it was fascinating too, because, it was I'm not good enough. Who's going to want to learn from me? Like all those limiting beliefs really came to surface. And then when I finally got through training, and I was so grateful. And then I waited another few months before I even taught my first class, because again, the limiting beliefs surfaced again. So I started working at a yoga studio. And then it was like time to dive in, because people were now starting to ask, like, I need subs. And it was just like, oh gosh. So I felt the calling, and I started subbing classes, and I was working closely with the owners of the studio. And so I was noticing like, oh, this is what it takes to run a studio. And then I was in the mecca of yoga in California, in Santa Monica. And there's just, inundated with yoga teachers and studios. And I was recognizing that, okay, my disability is going to end, and I don't have that much time left. I need to figure out what I'm doing with this. And so I started asking my friends about yoga in the workplace. And it was like, because I was like, oh, how are people making money as a yoga teacher? You really don't make that much. So I was like, well, okay, corporate yoga. Okay. So I'm starting to ask my friends, and then all of my friends basically said, no, we don't really have that kind of program. My business or my company is really cheap, or we don't have da-da-da. And then I had one who said, actually, let me ask. And it turned out that she worked for the VP in leasing in a fashion building in downtown Los Angeles. And that VP agreed to meet with me to talk about putting together a fitness program for their building. And I was like, whoa. So now I have this opportunity, and I go in and I talk to her and I share my vision. I said, this is really more about yoga in the workplace. Tell me about your, the people in this building. What do they need? And she was like, yeah, we've been wanting to do this for years. And she said, well, here's the thing though. She's like, we don't really have a budget to pay you. But if you want to venture out on your own and create this, she's like, I will rent you one of our spaces for cheap, and you can convert it into a little yoga space, and you will have to do all the marketing. We'll help send newsletters.
Right.
But now I'm thinking big, because I'm like, there's 13 floors on this.
Right.
There are hundreds of showrooms in here.
Yes.
Like I could, okay. And I'm looking around downtown LA. There were only 2 other yoga studios at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So downtown was up and coming. This is 2010. And I was like, okay. I think I'm tapping into a market that hasn't really been tapped into yet.
Right.
So I started, and it started as yoga in the workplace. And I was charging $10 a class, and sometimes there was one student. So, and I'm driving pretty far every day to get to the studio. And then I get to a point where it's like really down to the wire. Now I have to make a choice. Do I go back into the corporate world, or do I take this from yoga in the workplace and make it into a full-blown studio? So I made a decision, and I took $1,000, because that's all it really took. I was like, what is it going to take? And I'm like, $1,000. And I was like, I will make this into a real yoga studio. And which also meant that I was going to put in my blood, sweat, and tears to create this, because I had no help. So I was teaching all the classes, doing the website, figuring out HTML, doing all the things, all the promotion. And I did it though. And I created the Yoga Place LA. And my intention was that I didn't want another studio where you're just going to yoga and looking cute in your Lululemons. I wanted it to be a space for healing, and that yoga was therapy. And that's what I created. And over the 6 years that I had that studio, I served thousands of people. And I was in a fashion building. You had to go into the building, go up an elevator, go through a maze, just to get to my space. And I filled that. I went from having no students to overflowing with students. And looking back on that, I'm so grateful for that experience and for serving people in that way, because it helped so many people. And it also helped me. It was healing me.
That's what I say. It starts with you. All of this was for you. As you were healing, you were helping people.
Yes. And that's the thing that I think that's the biggest thing when it comes to healing, is when you put yourself in service, you now have a responsibility. And I felt responsible for these people. So in the times where I wanted to crawl under a rock and not show up and go into one of my patterns, I couldn't do it. I had all these people that were relying on me now.
Yes.
So it turned into something else. However, what I will say is that I experienced massive burnout because I didn't know self-care back then. I was working 7 days a week for 5 years, because now I'm thinking I'm doing my dream job. I was depleting myself of everything that I had. I wasn't.
So you're creating something else now.
I created a whole other thing. And that actually led me into my spiritual awakening in 2013, because the only other outlet I had outside of yoga was surfing. And so I would go surfing, and that was the thing that I would do. And then I started numbing myself out with surfing and with smoking a lot of weed, because I was getting so tired I was just exhausted, right? From running the studio, being the lead teacher, operating everything. It was a lot. It's a lot of energy. So I didn't have the self-care. Right. And there was this one day that I went out surfing, and I was supposed to meet a friend, and it was a perfect December day, literally 72 degrees and sunny. I'm on the beach writing Christmas cards. And I go out in the water, and I get into a massive surfing accident that where my board hits me so hard in the face underwater, like getting hit with a baseball bat underwater, that it splits my face open down to the bone and caused 29 stitches. And so that was my spiritual awakening,
So
because
did that knock you out? Did someone have to take you out of the water? What happened?
it was, thankfully it didn't knock me out. I was in shallow water, and so I had gotten what we call washing machined underwater.
Okay.
And somehow my board came underneath and just smashed me in the face. And instead of, usually the board would come up and then, go
Mm-hmm.
towards the beach, but it didn't do that. And then I came up and I'm holding my face, and there was a guy sort of close to me, and he thought that his board had hit me, and oh my
Oh,
God, I'm so sorry. Like, did my board hit you? And I was like, no, it was my board. And I'm holding my face, and this is the worst thing for surfers, right? Like, you do this, and then
mm-hmm.
you, and you're like, oh, because it's just gushing, right?
Right.
And I just look at him, and the first thing I say to him I was like, dude, is it bad? And his face just turns white, and he's like, you need to get out of the water now. And
Right.
he sprints it for the lifeguard, and the lifeguard comes, and then he's like, okay, we called the paramedics. And I was like, because I was confused. I was like, well,
Right.
why? Like, why are the paramedics coming? And he's like, it's pretty bad. And I was like, oh, I was like, I need stitches. He's like, do you want to see it? And I was like, no, I'll cry. Like, I knew, I was like, I don't want to see that. And then I was like, wait a second. So does this mean I can't surf tomorrow? Like, this is where my thinking is going, right?
Right. Because actually that was your out. That was your
That was
out
my
or
out.
smoking. But that was a better part of your out than smoking and getting your, yeah.
And now I had to face myself, and it ripped me open. I actually, because of that whole experience emotionally, now my face was ripped open. Now I was ripped open emotionally, and all this stuff started happening spiritually, because I ended up back with my DBT therapist, and I worked with her intensively for the next year. This is when I started working through love addiction. I started working through it was like the even deeper layers of BPD that hadn't come to surface yet until they did. And this whole process was very intense, but this is actually what led me to doing what I'm doing today. Because at that stage, I had wanted to close the studio to go surf the world for a year, had the accident, recognized that if I'm going through this, that means there are other people in the world who are experiencing this also.
Right.
And this is what prompted me to start sharing my story, because I recognize that I have a wealth of knowledge that people could use, that could help them. And I was like, I need to take off my mask, because up until now, nobody knows that I have BPD except for the people that are closest to me.
Okay.
And so I wrote an article, and instead of, putting it out in a newsletter or something, I had this bright idea that, let me just submit this to Elephant Journal and send it to millions of people. And it got published.
Wow.
And that was me coming forward and taking off my mask. And
what was the responses?
I thought it would ruin my business. I thought people would think I was just crazy. And
Wow.
It was the opposite. It turned out that people who knew me were like, I had no idea you were going through this.
Right.
I'm, like suddenly I became people's voices. Suddenly I became brave. I also became courage to a lot of
Finally
people.
spoke
And
your
I
truth.
recognized, because I spoke the truth. And I was unwilling to let that, because the whole idea of it was just sharing this. If I help just one person, this will all be worth it. And
Right,
this
right.
is this is my mantra through every
it.
difficult thing
That's it.
that I've been through all these years. If I can help just one person,
one.
this will all be worth it.
It's true.
Right? Because it was never about me in the first place. Right? We are the vessel who goes through these things, but we are also the voice to help others rise.
That's it. That's it.
right? This is the soul calling. This is the soul work. And that's when I started recognizing that I am not meant to be in this tiny studio in downtown LA. I started having visions that I was supposed to be global, that I was supposed to be a voice for people, for the masses. And I was terrified of that. You know, I didn't want to even step into that until I did. And it was like, I closed the studio and then I was coasting for a couple of years and really struggling financially because now I don't have a set income anymore.
Right,
and I'm a body worker and I'm just trying to get by. And what I started recognizing is I started coaching people intuitively, but I didn't really have like a structure, you know, really know how to get them from A to B. I just knew that I was really good at counseling people. And I was kind of using that in body work, and, you know, people were having these transformational experiences going through the somatic methods along with this, you know, counseling them. And they were having these huge emotional releases. And I was recognizing, wow, this is really powerful. And then I was eventually led into a seminar in early 2018. And it happened to be my first mentor. And at that stage, I knew my path wasn't yoga. I knew my path wasn't body work. And I was actually really depressed because I had just come out of a 10-day Vipassana. I had gone really deep in introspection. And I was like, I don't know why I'm here. And I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, this isn't my path. And I showed up at this seminar, and this woman named Mary Morrissey, she started talking about dreams and dream building. And, you know, like, we all have this innate power within us, and we can create anything that our heart desires. And she started bringing me back to life, to where I started dreaming really big. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And at that point I had no money because I had just filed for bankruptcy, and I really wanted to work with her. So I used my rent money to sign up for her coaching program. And I was like, I'm just going to have to figure this out later. And then I went to her coaching presentation. And this is the presentation where because they train coaches and they teach you the business of coaching. And so I went to the seminar, and I remember just standing there, and I was like shaking in my boots because I was like, this is it. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. I know. And this is the platform that she's literally going to give it to me. And I just need to learn it and implement it. And I didn't know how I was going to pay for this. I didn't have any money. I didn't have any credit. So I remember going up to her, and she didn't even know me. She had no idea who I was. I went up to her, and one of the things that she does at her seminars is she will bring people up to tell their story, talking about where they were, and she walks them across the stage, and then they talk about where they are now. And I so wanted to be that person. And I just looked at her and I said, hi, Mary, I'm Denise. And, you know, I really love this or whatever. And I said, within 1 year, I was like, I'm going to be on that stage with you talking about my transformation. And she looked at me up and down, and she was like, okay. And because that's a pretty tall order, you know, for somebody who's just like never done anything like this before. And I didn't have any money. So how am I going to go into her coaching program? So now I have a new problem, because now I have 48 hours to come up with the first $3,500. And then I had a week to come up with the second $3,500, which was—
And you already give up your rent money.
I already gave up my rent money, so I had no money. So now now I have this new problem, and I let it go for the first night, because, you know, you give up. It's easy to give up on your dreams, but when your spirit is involved, your spirit keeps you awake. And I could not sleep. I was tossing and turning, and I could feel this energy coming up inside me, and I just kept hearing, you have to try. And I was like, oh, okay. So I call my sisters the next day and I'm crying and I'm telling them what happened. And you guys, I know this is my path. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And they'd never heard me like this before. And they're crying and they're like, Denise, oh my gosh, like I can tell this is really meaningful for you. And so I'm expecting that they're going to loan me the money.
Right.
But then they're like, but Denise, we don't have the money either.
Right. Right. So all that story and emotion was to see if they can sponsor you.
Yep. So now I just went through my first initiation, right? I'll call it an initiation. But the desire was still alive. I was on fire. I could feel it. And I was like, all right, I have to find another way. And so I was like, well, what if I do a GoFundMe? And I was like, I'm not asking for a handout. I'm just asking for somebody, a hand up. That's what I'm asking for at this stage of my life. And so I put out a GoFundMe and I put it out on social media and it was basically crickets. And I think maybe I raised $200. Okay. And then a few people messaged me and said, oh, Denise, I see you in this. And, I just know I'm rooting for you. And that was enough to get me going because there was another stage that I had to go through. And that next stage, I now have, this is the next day, and I now have 10 hours till the deadline to come up with this first down payment. And I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I go and teach a yoga class and because when I'm teaching, I'm channeling and then I go into the Whole Foods and I'm at the parking lot and I just keep hearing the voice, and the voice is loud and saying, do a Facebook Live. And I was like, F you, I am not doing a Facebook Live. I am not going to be sharing my business like that on social media. Are you kidding me? But I just kept hearing it. And for 20 minutes, I was fighting with spirit until I surrendered. And I did a Facebook Live. And I shared my story and I shared my heart and I put it out there and I was like, I can't remember everything I said in it, but I just remember putting a call to action out and saying, I need support. I've never asked for this before. I would never do this, but I know that this is my path. And after that, I thought that was it. And then I heard, now you need to circulate it. And I was like, oh, okay. So now I'm emailing, now I'm texting, now I'm sending everybody the link to this video, including my bodywork clients, my friends, my family, everybody. Right. And I'm just circulating this out there and I'm like, okay. And then I get to a point, I'm looking at the clock. It's now like 1:00. I have 5 hours and I'm feeling a bit defeated because I'm like, I don't know where the hell this money is going to come from. Right. I don't think that this can happen. I was like, and you know what? I'm just going to give it up to God. And if it's meant to happen, then it will happen. And so I surrendered and I went into meditation. And during that meditation, I don't know how long I was in there, but I remember seeing these, it was like in bright lights. I saw Bridge the Love and I opened up my eyes and I ran over to my desk and I write it down, Bridge the Love. I was like, that's going to be the name of my business. Bridge the Love. And then I kid you not even 10 minutes later, I get a phone call from one of my wealthy bodywork clients who says, I just watched your video. I have the means. Let's create a prepaid package and you have your down payment. Wow. Beautiful. 4 hours. I had at that stage. And when I had the follow-up call with them, I had the money. And then I had to do it again the next week and I did. So, but that was the beginning. And I've never worked so hard in my life to because I had 6 weeks before the live training. And I was working my tail off. I was doing all the body work that I could be doing. I was when I wasn't doing that, I was studying, doing all their online modules and programs. I was setting up my business so that I was getting ready to get ready so that when I went into the live training, it was like my desk was ready and I was ready to take clients. Right. So this is how it all started for me. And when I got my certification, it was such a beautiful and spiritual experience that when I went up to get my certification, I'm just crying in gratitude because I knew what it meant. I
Mhm.
knew that I was a light in this world, and I knew that I was meant to serve people and help people, and all because of everything up until that moment that I had gone
Right.
through. The BPD, the anxiety, the suicidal depression, the sexual abuse, the bankruptcy, the domestic violence, all of it led to this moment where I'm
Right.
here to serve.
Right. So that's what I
Right.
wanted to say, because every experience that you go through and you said, you know what, I can do this, because you found that, you know what, this is a place I'm healing in and I can evolve in this because I got out of this stage. But once you got out of that stage, there was still more layers that need to get off. So you kept going from different stages and you were doing fine as you were going. You know what, you were bleeding, but still working, right? And it kept happening. So that moment where you felt you needed to take that break, you invested in yourself, that was when it all started, right?
Yeah.
Then, believe it or not, this surfboard that knocked you out, it couldn't be anything else. That's the way it had to go, okay? In order for you to get yet another awakening. All right. Literally, God had to knock you upside the head. You know, some people don't get, I had to get literally knocked upside the head, or had to lose something, some people had to get evicted. All of
Yeah.
this is to
Yeah.
lead you, because you went through bankruptcy. You had no, no money for where you were staying, but yet dreams are built in those places,
Yeah.
because now I don't have anything, but what can I get? You can hear now.
Right.
Here's where you are. You at bottom.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The only way from bottom is up,
That's
right?
it.
And
And you
that's and
found something to latch onto.
I
And
did.
once you connect with it, you said, this is it. I am finally, this is it. And now you don't know how you were going to go about it. You had to listen to do what you're told, right? And in order to circle it in that one life, obviously, that first person who was your sponsor would not have seen it. So you had to circulate it just so you could get it to that one person, and
Yep.
then do it again. For all of us who feel like, oh, I know like thousands of people, I know 100 people, I'm in church and I'm all these groups, and then some might have been said, why weren't you pitching your clients, the people that were there? But here's the thing. When you've gone through a place where you've always felt unworthy, undeserving, the last thing you're going to bring attention to yourself is to people who you are actually pouring into. Hey, I need your help. That's the
Yep.
last place you're going to go.
Yeah,
All right.
because your pride will take over, and
Yes.
you feel shameful for asking for help.
That's it. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of people are stuck and
Yep.
can't move beyond it. Because guess what? Everybody needs somebody.
Yeah.
All
Well,
right.
and that's the thing. People have asked like how I got to where I am, and I'm like, look, I take credit for my healing, but I don't take credit for getting myself here by myself.
Mm-hmm.
It took a
Mm-hmm.
village, and it
Yes.
took a lot of surrender. It took a lot of allowing people to help
Mm-hmm.
me and to
Yes.
receive and to feel worthy of receiving.
Right. Right.
Right.
That's it. That's it. So I
Ultimately, I
do.
did the work, but I had the people to back me.
That's
Right.
it. That's it. See, all you were doing was building, everything you were doing was building you up from
Yes.
having that one person in the room in that yoga healing class, to
Yep.
the two, to the 10, to a room full, to stretching you beyond. All of that was doing this, building you up. And as you are building up, there are moments where you felt hollow, where you felt like, but then you had to break off and go
Yep.
into another level. All right. So all of these breakoffs and shifts, they are not comfortable. They are uncomfortable
No.
positions.
So, because our growth, our dreams do not live in the comfort zone. If anybody thinks they
No.
do, they don't. They don't. They're going to push you beyond because the dream comes from you, right?
Yes.
It the dream once the dream has you,
Yes.
it's you have to learn how to surrender into that, and you have to learn
Yes.
how to follow the prompts, right?
Yes.
And it is scary because, once you start really living your dreams, you're going to start to recognize you're not in your comfort zone for very long. I think probably for, Dr. Lynn and I, she can probably attribute to this. We're probably comfortable maybe for 2 days
Yeah.
at a
Yep.
time.
No lie.
Most.
No lie.
And
I
then
do.
because
I
we're
do.
constantly shifting and
Yes.
growing.
And I do have moments where I don't want to be bothered. I don't want
Yeah.
today because we do a lot. Here's what happened. Because you're pouring and you're giving, it's a joy, right? Because giving, I'm a giver. So if I'm giving and whatever I'm giving, people are happy, I'm happy. But at the same time is we tend to now forget ourselves.
Yes.
Self-care, all right, even though we're telling people here's what you need to do, self-care, you can actually burn out. So those times when I feel burnout, it's sometimes my body is giving me a signal. I get a headache. I know I have to pause, right? So I have to take that break. And sometimes I take that break and I'm like, no, but I could be getting up. And I have to tell myself, no, you need to stay in this bed. You need to not go out. Just shower, eat, stay right here. I don't care if you're going to watch YouTubes or Netflix, whatever, but you need to break away. Right? Because
Yeah.
I still stay up late. I'm creating, right? Day, night, I'm always creating, right? So now I call myself a content creator because I'm always creating content, trying to
Yeah.
find things to do. But I was never that person. I never thought I could be this person a year and a half, well, a year and 8 months later. I am not where I started. I'm not where I was 4 years ago. But guess
No.
what? I'm still in that business of healing people. I have to log, I literally have to say, let me check my calendar now,
Yep.
right? Because from the
Yep.
time I get up till the time I'm supposed to be sleeping when I'm not, right? I'm busy. So I have to say, okay, I'm going to turn this off. I got to apologize. I need this day. I'm sorry. Everybody,
Yep.
schedule another day. Why? Because if you don't, this is where the enemy will come and bring all that stuff you didn't heal from and bring it to you like nothing ever happened.
Right.
And you got to remember, I have built all of this. I have healed from all of this. So, no, I am no longer that person, and I refuse to have me go back to that place. I moved from that place a long time ago. You see, this is why we have to say, that's why I said the mind, the spirit, is a terrible thing to waste. We need to evict the squatters. You got to let go of all that is negative, that is draining, and it starts with yourself because you are your worst enemy. Okay? Your worst
Yeah.
enemy. So, in order to heal, allow healing to take place. Invest in your healing. You invest in so many other things. Invest in yourself. The
Yeah.
first step that Denise did was invest. She said she needed to take that disability and take the break. That's why you have it. You've been paying for it all this time on the job. I remember I had to do that. I was burnt out. I'm on these people's job knowing this is not where I want to be. I got too much I could be doing. Sitting here trapped into somebody's 9 to 5, and I'm not happy. The pay is
Yeah.
good, but I'm not happy. And
Yeah.
eventually I was like, you know what? I'm just going to walk off and quit. But I'm not a quitter. And I had that same thing like you. You have disability. Use
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. And what's so beautiful about that is that people get stuck in the cycle, the eat, sleep, work, and entertainment cycle.
Hmm. Hmm.
And when they think about changing their life, and then they start thinking about how hard it is or how big it is, or, oh, that's going to be a really tall mountain to climb.
Right.
This is what often pulls people right back to
That's
their
it.
comfort zone,
That's it.
right? But I will tell you this, that your fulfillment's not going to live there.
Yes.
Just isn't. And,
That's it.
it's the people that you see who are actually living in their joy and their happiness and their fulfillment, and
Hmm.
who prioritize self-care, who prioritize investing in themselves. And this is the first thing. This is why I teach self-love mastery now, right? Is because it is the foundation. When you really truly get to know yourself,
Yes.
and this is how you start to understand the people in the world around you, because you can
Yes.
only know people as deeply as you know yourself.
That's it.
And this is why it's important for you to heal and to grow and to let what is here to emerge out of you, right? It's not about, oh, I'm so lost, I need to find my purpose. It's not about that. But would you love, like, your purpose will come, I
Yeah.
promise you.
Oh, yeah.
But what you have to, what I believe that you have to focus on is fulfillment. What would create a fulfilling life for you? Because guess what? You don't get to just live your life. You get to create it. Just like I was telling you about that canvas, I
Mhm.
got to create who I was. And I was like, I want to be this and I want to be this. And it was like writing on a menu.
Yeah.
And this is how I've lived my life for the last almost like 2 decades in creating my life, is writing out this menu and saying, these are the things I want to do, to be, to have, to create.
Yes. Yes.
Right. And then
That's
you
a
have to
beautiful.
learn how to integrate it into your nervous system so that it becomes your identity. And I know this
Yes.
sounds easy. There is a process, which both Dr. Lynn and I understand.
Oh,
there
yes.
is, there is, there
But
is
you're
a
worth it.
strategy
You
to
are
this.
worth it to invest in
Yes.
yourself. Yes,
Yes. Yeah.
definitely.
It starts there. It starts with, are you willing? Are you willing to open yourself up to doing this kind of work and seeing what's possible for you? If you have
Yes.
one part of your mind that's open, that says, okay, maybe this is possible. Maybe my dreams aren't just going to sit on the shelf, because how long have
Hmm.
they been sitting there?
Right.
Right? It's time. And I'm giving you permission to say it's time.
It's time. It's time. You've got permission. Listen, this is yet another Emerge and Empower segment. Emerging from pain, turning the pain into purpose. Don't be afraid of the pain. Pain means you're alive. Pain means you're moving, you're living. And now, once you realize that, you move beyond it, right? We take Tylenol or Excedrin for a headache. For those who can take it, because I could go 2 or 3 days. I don't want it. But then when it's unbearable, I take something so it could go. Well, that's the same thing that we're giving to you today, to tell you, you know what? Yes, we know it hurt, but there is a solution. It starts with you investing in you. And how bad do you want to be whole? All right. I don't know about you. I'm tired. I was tired of being fractions of myself. All right. But when you walk whole, you move well, you move beautifully, and you also helping individuals heal. Now, is
Yes.
it perfection? It's a map to perfection. It takes time. It
It
does
takes
not
time.
happen overnight, but
No, but that's the
it's
journey.
worth
That's
it.
the gift. That is
It's
the
a,
gift. It's who you
that
get to
is it.
become along the
It's
way. It's not
definitely a
about the
journey.
destination.
So, Denise, I
Yeah.
do want to thank you for being here on Emerge and Empower. And it's been definitely a wonderful segment. And I like the connection. I need to get something like a map, right? And put all the places that Emerge and Empower has gone into, right? Indonesia, Australia, now Bali. Come on, come on. So we're just mapping and traveling. And guess what? We're taking it global, right? Because healing is global. You,
Yes.
yourself, individuals, the seeds that you plant. It's beautiful to see that grow. So I want to thank you so much, Denise, for connecting with us here on Emerge and Empower. And
Yes.
let people know where they could connect with you. It will be in the bio, but I need them to know where they could connect with you.
Yeah, so the easiest place is either social media, Instagram, Denise Michelle XOXO, or you can find me on my website, which is bridgethelove.com.
Bridge to
And
love. You can't
I'm
miss it. Bridge to love.
Bridge, Bridge the Love. Yeah,
Bridge
Bridge
the
the Love.
love. Okay,
Yes,
bridge to love.
bridgethelove.com. And yeah, and I have a new book getting ready to come out next month called Embrace Your Worth, The Ultimate Guide to Self-Love Mastery. That's not just a book that you read, another personal development book. This actually gives you tools on how to do it.
Love
So
it, love it. And where can they find that? You will give me that link as well?
yes,
Or
I will
share it
share
back.
that
We
link.
can
It's
always
on
share it back
Amazon.
once it's out, and I'll just put it with your profile so they know, hey, book has come out. Because like you, I have a book
It's on
coming out
pre-order
next
now,
month.
so I can send you, yeah, I
Oh
can give
yeah,
you the link.
send that, send
You can
that.
order
So
it.
thank you
Yeah.
so much, Denise. Everyone, again, it's another Emerge and Empower segment, and we are so glad that you're here. But I will be remiss to not close off in prayer. Father, for those who heard us, I don't want them to just hear, but I want them to become doers of the word. Father, that is the only way that this true healing can begin. Is wanting to hear, but now that they become doers of the word. It's not for it to go in one ear and come out to the other, but for them to do, become. this thing. Become the word, and the word will transform and bring changes to their lives. So, Father, I want to thank you. I want to thank Denise, who reached out, Heavenly Father, Lord, to be able to share the story, to reach individuals right where they are, those who find it relatable. And as she's in her own healing journey, that you can heal her mind, body, and spirit as well. For the journey to healing is continuous, and we learn and we discover. And as she pour all her knowledge into her clients, may they too be renewed and have that true transformation. So, for every person that is under the sound of my voice, that is watching on today, may these words heal. May these words restore. May these words replenish. May these words repair. I can't help but getting the re, because why? They once were in a place before the brokenness came in, before the grief came in, before the pain and the hurt came in. So, Father, we ask as they are emerging from that place, may you restore them whole. In this Jesus' name I pray. Amen, amen, and amen. Thank you so much. And bye bye, everyone. Until our next session. Bye bye. Thank you so much, Denise.
Thank you, Dr. Lynn. I appreciate it so much. Oh my God, I was like having allergies, and I'm like, oh.